Okay, we're going to recap the SRNE trade that we did today to see how we stay in the trade to make the big money. We had a nice run with this thing from 5 to 9, and so how do we stay in it to make the big money, and we don't just sell it for 15, 20 cents, 25 cents as we move along. We can see this morning. It did pop up in the pre-market and then flagged sideways. In the opening, it actually sold off a little bit, but it held support here at the 390 area. Now, let me just check and see what I said on this. So in the pre-market watch list, you'll see here, I said, right here. So this morning when I was talking about them, I said here SRNE over 450, trade to 475 and 5. And then I said SRNE tags the 5 over 5, trade to 5 1/4, 550. Stop under 5, dead stop under 475, and it did pull back a bit. If you did stay in the trade, I said then 550 to 6, scale out some at 575, and trade at 5, scale out here some at 575, scale some more out at 595, through 6, trade to 650, stop under 570, stop under 580, scale out some at 695, stop under 650, 660, 690, stop under 7, stop under 7 1/4, tags my target of 8. If you're still in the trade, scale out at 8, at 9, through 9 it's 10, stop under 8. And that was the end, and then the trade came back, and that was the end of the trade. So there was good guidance on how to trade this thing all the way through, and you want to stay in it. And I said this earlier today when we were talking about this. I said one of the problems new traders have, or traders that have just gone through a bad stretch and there's a lot of red trades and just can't seem to get it right, is as soon as they're green, up 10 or 15 cents, they sell the stock, and they're just so nervous. So how do you stop from doing that? Well, there's two ways to do it. One is you have to have a strong mindset to let the stock run and not just trade it for 10 or 15 cents. A lot of these houses, that's what these guys do. They're so excited that they've made 15 cents, they blast the stock out and then brag about how good of a trade it was. So one of the things is you just have to have a strong mindset, and you have to trade with conviction. They're not all going to work. It's only 70% of them work, but you get in a pattern and you trade with conviction that the pattern you're in is going to work. And as long as it stays within the rules of your pattern, you stay in the trade. You'll see it pop up and then it pulls back. And you think, oh, it's going to pull back, and I'm selling. Yet it holds support, or it holds the trend line, and you're out of the trade, and you shouldn't be because you didn't follow the rules of the pattern. That's one thing you have to do. You have to follow the rules of the pattern. The other thing you have to do is, if you're nervous about it, and is maybe take smaller size. Don't take big size, and so. Or if you do take big size, start scaling it out a bit earlier so that you protect you start reducing your risk and adding a cushion to your trade. And that's one of the reasons why I scale out as I go up, is that, so I said here, take it over 450 here. It popped up, pulled back, held support on it, traded back through it, held the support. You could have entered this trade there, and then away it went, and when it traded over 5. And then it really was we could draw the trend line and really got in the way. Anyways, let's start that from the beginning. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. So the stock pops, flags in here, holds support at the 390 level. I say over 450, take this trade. And at first it was just a fake out breakout. We talked about that. I said, if the next candle is in green, we're not taking the trade. And it pulled back, it held support. Then it busted out of the wedge like this, and you could have actually taken the trade here at under 4, but I waited till over 450, and it popped, and it pulled back, and it held support at the 450, at 5, that was the target, and then it pulled back. It held support 450, and then it went again, and then it traded over the 5. But what's important about this now is this was a bit choppy, and we weren't too sure. But once it got started, let me just see if I can do that. So here it is. This is what it looked like in live. In live. So here it is right at 5. We can draw this trend line here. We see that it's holding the trend line. It pops through 5, and I said through 5, trade to 550 and 6. So 450 was the first entry, and then through 5 you could have traded it, and sure enough, as it moved ahead, it went through 550. I said scale some out there, and by the time I said scale some out there, it had already traded to 575, 580. We got some out there. The next target was 6. It broke through 6 like it was nothing and consolidated there. So now we do have a very well defined channel here now. As you connect all the dots on them, so you got this rising channel line, and then 6 was the lateral support. Every 50 cents, I said trade this every 50 cents. 5, 550, 6, 657, and it did hold the 6 here. So a breakthrough of 6, you would expect it to trade to 6 1/4, 615 to 1/4, which it did. Traded to 629, 630, pulled back, held support. We had a stop though, quite a bit lower, under 550. If this had broken down through the trend line and through lateral support, we would have wanted to see it hold 550. If it failed, then we would have been out of the trade. But it held this trend line absolutely perfectly, and it just kept going up and up and up. And we can see, but then we said, every time it got to an area of every 50 cents, once it started trading above 6, I said, okay, every 50 cents. So we sold some at 650, sell it at 650, sell some at 7. And then it really started to accelerate, and it got up to 8. And I put the stop on this, and I think it's 790 or something. And then this is where I got stopped out, because it came so hard down below it. But it turned out to be just a fake out, and then popped back up. But that's okay. I made good money on it. And then it kept going, but it got up to 9, and that was the next target. Tags 9, and then we get this double top red candle. Next one's red. It's coming off. Sure enough, it trades through 8, trades back up, tried to get through it a few times, gave you lots of opportunity to get out of the stock in the 8 range if you didn't, because it came off so hard, and now it's just in this downtrending channel. So the key point is that this thing got in a channel, and it stayed in the channel. And there was key support areas every 50 cents, 550, 6, 657, 758. And then 9 and 10, I moved it to $1, traded within $1 range. 8, 9, and 10, got to 9. But it was a well-defined channel, well-defined support areas. You just have to believe in the pattern. And if you believe in the pattern, let it run. Stocks, this works. It held support at 6. It held support at 650. It held support at 7. Held support at 750. It just went straight up through 8. Didn't do anything there. It just went through it, but got up to 9, which was resistance, and failed. Didn't get through 9, so that's not resistance. You know that. And so 8's your stop, because that's the support. And it failed, so we get out. I got stopped out here. But because it broke my, I kept moving. Now, the other thing that I do, as it moves up, I tighten the stops up. When we first started, there was a pretty big range. But as it got higher and higher and higher, then I tightened the stops up, and that's what happened here. I got stopped out. But it was $1 move in a minute. So, I'm not disappointed by that. I could have kept going. It didn't. Bounced down, went right back up, and got going. Now, one of the things we have to remember on this, no, I was thinking of another stock. Never mind. I was thinking this had a big short position. I don't know if it does or not. Anyway, so that's the recap of the SRNA trade and how to stay in the trade. While we're on the topic, let's talk about ACB, because this was another thing. This was another trade. It popped. It traded sideways in here. And I can't quite remember what I said, where to start it at. Let me just have a look here. ACB. I said through 950, trade to 975 and 10. So here was the 950 area. It had made this cup and handle pattern. Gets through the 950 here, pops, trades up to 10, which was my target, pulls back, held support, and then it got into this rising channel. Now, this has a huge short position in it, and so everybody gets squeezed. And we just, same thing, we just got in this channel, and once it started in the channel and going, we just stayed in the channel because, and we scaled it out as it went up. Just kept scaling it out. Then it spiked up through there. We got this big long wick and a close, and then the next candle's red. It's going down. Sure enough, boom, off it came. But it gave you an opportunity to try again to get out here, which you could have got out again, and now we see it selling off. But that's okay. Huge move from 950 to 1150. $2 move. How? Just by staying in the channel and respecting the pattern.